Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Scale Model Kit Review. Welcome back to another exciting installment of Build the Batmobile by FanHome. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another fantastic installment of the DeAgostini FanHome Build the Batmobile. Yes, this is from the iconic classic 1966 TV series. This Batmobile is something we've all been waiting for, and we're finally building it here on my channel. We are currently working on pack number 11. This will be the final pack for this year, and we'll start off with new packs starting the new year, and I look forward to that. This time I received 6 more phases. It's phase 51 through 56, and we do a lot here. Nothing real difficult though. There's a lot going on with some of the electronics and such, so I will show you that as we go along. If there's any tricks or tips, I'll show those along the way. We'll keep this video short and sweet as much as possible. So let's look at the parts that came with this pack. 51, rear chassis. 52, the wheel well covers for the back side of the car. 53, the battery compartment. 54, the speaker and more parts for the battery compartment. 55, the circuit board and the headlights. And 56, the remote control. Let's get started. Let's get started with phase 51. I'll show you the magazine as I talk about some things. Head over to FanHome. That's the website you want to go to, fanhome.com, and subscribe to this today. I put a direct link in the description below. If it's still available, go ahead and subscribe to it. I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic car. It's in 1/8 scale, mostly made of metal, but there is some plastic there. And as you saw earlier, we get a remote control for this, so we'll be able to operate all the lights and bells and whistles for this using a remote control. And that's fantastic there. And here's our parts we received. This is the rear floor pan. We're going to install that, put a few screws into the chassis for that, and then we're going to work on those resonators that we received in phase 43. We're going to install those, and then we're going to install the fuel line underneath the chassis. Okay, so let me get the parts and I will be right back. Large package here for 51, but here's the parts contained in the bag here. Let's go ahead and get a closer look at them. AP and CM screws, and here's the rear lower floor pan. Made of metal, of course, and you'll see here it has a little bit of an angle on both sides. I'm sure that's correct for this, and we will be installing this. Okay, we'll go ahead and put the floor pan on, and this goes on right on top, and just like that, mounts right down, real easy. 7 CM screws will go into this total. Do yourself a favor, go ahead and support the rear chassis, or even put this on your lap while you install those screws so you have better control. I will be using my 3-in-1 oil on those screws. All the screws are in, all 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and they are all tight. I did use my Wera PH1 screwdriver. It's a larger screwdriver, gives me more of a bite on those screws. And like I said, I did use the 3-in-1 oil. I did support the bottom of the chassis while I screwed those down, being very careful that I'm not going to break any of the suspension components while putting pressure down on those screws. But definitely the oil helps out here. Now let's go ahead and install the resonators on the other side. Now we'll go ahead and work on these resonators, and you see there's a hole there for the exhaust pipe. That will insert into the resonator, and then 2 screws will mount that down. And 2 AP screws went into that. No oil required because we are going into plastic with those screws. That's what the resonators look like installed on both sides. Also, I did run that fuel line down the middle of the chassis. This is the fuel line here. It runs all the way through the middle of the chassis, all the way up to the fuel pump on the side there. I did super glue the line to the fuel pump. And that completes phase 51. Let's head over and get started on phase 52. Let's look at the build instructions for phase 52. And the parts we received, of course, are the left and right wheel wells. And they install on the rear side of the car, just like that, with CM screws. Both sides. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's those parts. Let's get a closer look. CM screws and the wheel wells made of plastic. They are marked with an L and an R. And here they are. Both are installed with 3 CM screws each. I did use some oil on them, and I supported the suspension as I did this. That's all we do with stage or phase 52. Let's head over and get started on phase 53. Let's look at the build instructions for phase 53. And we received the battery box and power switch. We're going to install that on the chassis. It looks like the floor pan on the left side. 2 screws for the switch. And behind it, we're going to install the battery compartment. 4 screws for that. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Parts for 53. Let's get a closer look. CM, CP screws, power switch itself, and the battery box. Looks like we hold 3 AAA batteries. Here's the power switch. The 2 CM screws are installed with some oil to help it along. That's how that looks there. Now we're going to take our battery box. We're going to install that next. We have a large cutout on this side and 2 small. The large cutout aligns up with that large notch. So that's simply going to go down on top like that. We're going to put in 4 CP screws from the top here. No oil required because they're going into plastic. And all 4 screws are installed. We'll look at it on the other side. And that's what it looks like on the other side. So that's all I do with phase 53. Let's get started on phase 54. Moving along here, let's get started on phase 54. This time received the parts for the speaker and the battery box cover. We'll install the speaker on the other side of the power on switch there with CM screws. And we'll put the battery box cover on. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's parts for 54. Let's get a closer look. CM screws, the speaker, the mount for the speaker, and the battery box cover. Speakers installed. Used the mount here to secure it down with 2 CM screws. Used a little bit of oil on those. The other side, and the battery box cover is installed. That completes phase 54. Let's head over and do phase 55. Let's look at phase 55. Phase 55, we're going to work on the PCB board, the headlights, beacon cable, and we got some screws there. So we install our PCB board opposite of the battery compartment. Going to plug in our wires for the headlights and the wire for the beacon cable. And we're going to plug in the power switch on the PCB board and the battery box onto the PCB board. Plug in the speaker also on the PCB board, and that's all we do there. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for 55. There's our board. Let's get a closer look. CP screws, the beacon cable, the headlight LEDs and wires, and the PCB board. I'm going to go ahead and install the PCB board onto the chassis here, and you'll note on the board itself it has two sockets, D and A. Those are going to face the front of the car, so we put the board down just like that. We'll put in 4 CP screws. 4 CP screws are in, nice and tight. Now we'll install all our wires. Here's our LED headlight harness 55B, and that's going to plug into terminal D on the PCB board, and they actually tell us that on the wire. Just like that. Next, we'll bring over the beacon wire, and that's wire 55C. That's going to go into L. L is right in the middle of the board. Just like that. Next, we'll bring over a wire from the on-off switch, and that will plug into A. Just like that. Next, we'll bring over a wire from the battery compartment, and that will plug into B. Just like that. And lastly, we'll bring over our speaker wire, and that will plug into slot C on the board. And there you go. All the wires are hooked up that need to be hooked up. So that completes phase 55. Let's head over and do the final phase for this video, phase 56. Let's look at phase 56 instructions. And the parts we received is for the remote control, and we'll be putting this together here. You're going to fit the buttons first and complete the remote control itself. No need for screws. Next, we'll put the battery holder in, and looks like the type of battery it needs is a flat battery, which is the CR2032 battery. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's parts for 56. Let's get a closer look. And here's all the parts for that. Here's the board, all the circuitry there for the switches, the front plate, our rubber buttons themselves, and the back cover along with the battery holder. Alright, we'll go ahead and put these on the cover, and these are the buttons here. You can see on the back side they have these little push button pieces there that hit the circuit board, and the way you want to do it, we want to have our power button on the top left corner. So we'll insert this all the way, flip this over, and we're going to go ahead and line up our buttons to that. Now it only goes in one way, and we need to bring our board over here for that. And you can see there's a hole here in alignment tab. Just line that up to that alignment tab, just like that. And we'll bring over our cover, and that should just snap down on top. Perfect. Everything feels good there. And then we'll bring over our battery slot holder there. That should just slide in like that. And that's how that looks. That completes phase 56. I'll be right back. And there you have it. That completes pack 11 for the Build the Batmobile by FanHome. Head over to FanHome today and subscribe to this. You'll love it. 1/8 scale, 1966 television series, Batmobile. It's fantastic, and I'm having a blast building this. We are about halfway done with this build, and it should be fantastic when we're done with it. I just can't wait to move on with this. I can't wait to get the next pack, pack 12. That should be coming next year. This is the last pack for this year, and I've enjoyed it. So, you know, if you are watching this now, it's real close to Christmas for you. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and just enjoy your holiday and stay safe out there. So with that, happy modeling, everybody, and take care.